Ladies and gentlemen, live from land, not sea, where he was for years. It's a JKWD podcast. I got Kelvin giggling.
Oh, well.
Must be a real thing.
I don't know. I'm just easy, man. That's all that is. Apparently, I'm just easy to make laugh. You know. But yeah, got a nice podcast coming up here.
Oh yeah, you're gonna love this.
We're having some awfully good guests, man. I shouldn't say awfully and good in the same breath, should I?
No, they do sound kind of contradictory, but yeah they're amazing.
Amazing is a good word, yeah. And this guy, I mean, I can't imagine doing that.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is today's guest, Caspar Craven, comes to us via our recent guest, Kathy O'Dowd. She emailed us and said, "Hey, do you want to talk to a guy who took his family on a boat for 2 years and around the world?" And I'm like, yes, we do. So that's Caspar. That's Caspar Craven. We're talking to him today. Before we do, we're brought to you by Audible. If you want a free audiobook, a free month at Audible, you can go to audibletrial.com/JKWD or just text JKWD to 500-500. And you know what? Caspar's book is on Audible, so you can go get that for free. And if you're not sold on it yet, just wait till the end of the episode and you will be. He actually says the words, "If you are 100% happy with your life, don't read this book, because at the end of it, you're going to want to change something."
Yeah. So, of course, I have to read it because I don't believe it. No, you know.
So that's audibletrial.com/JKWD or JKWD to 500-500. It's your free audiobook, your free month at Audible. And if we drop the music right here. Kelvin World Domination Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go. Hey, Kelvin, how you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm having a great day.
Great.
I didn't think I was having a great day when I woke up. I was feeling kind of sluggish. Head was kind of pounding a little bit, but hang out with you for an hour and a half with another outstanding, energizing, and magnificent human being. Well, that just makes everything better.
Fantastic.
So I'm doing all right.
Good.
And how about you? Do anything exciting the past week, Mr. Chair?
Well, I did. It'll be a couple of weeks ago by the time this comes out, but I am 48 hours done with the rock and roll half marathon in Raleigh.
All right. And you're still walking?
Barely. I got to tell you, Raleigh, you're a pretty you're a pretty city, but why so darn many hills? Holy crow. Every time we thought we're done, there's another uphill, and that happened all the way to the end. Like the very end, we figured, we're cruising downhill into the, we're like 12 and a half miles in. We're cruising downhill. It's a long downhill. It feels really good. We're finishing up, and then the final 0.3, we get to 12.8, and bam, you're going uphill again, and you get around the corner. And you look at the finish line, and you want to sprint to the finish line, but you're still running uphill.
No.
And there is no sprint to the finish. So, we got it done. And it went. Yeah. We didn't. We weren't going for time. My buddy wasn't. Hadn't gone any further than 7, and really he hadn't gone further than 7 miles, and he did that here in Savannah where it's flat. So he's been running about 5 miles for his training runs. And I'm of the opinion that when something I learned training for my first half was once you kind of get to that 5 mile point, it becomes mind over matter. If you have enough water on you, if you have some gels or whatever that you can take in some calories, then as long as you can fuel your body so that your muscles continue to work, you can just keep running until your brain tells you no longer, and then you can just keep going. That's how people do these 100, 150, 200 mile runs, is that after a while it just becomes mind over matter. And I mean, you got to keep your body fueled some, but
you got to stay in shape for that, because you've told me some stories about some of those races.
Yeah, your legs will work as long as you let them. Yeah. So I knew that he's a younger guy. He's pretty slim. So I knew that he wasn't going to. I knew that physically his body could handle it. It was just a matter of making his brain do it. So we did a lot of walking, and his knees were bothering him by the end. But me, it's just muscle soreness, and it didn't help that I woke up early the next morning and got in a car for 6 hours to get home. But I got to the gym that evening. Got to work some of the muscles through. Did it again, the next morning. So. Yeah, I'm getting my legs back, and my cardio still feels pretty good. A lot of people after they go that far are hacking for a couple of days, just so the lungs aren't used to it. But I'm doing all right, and now I got a full marathon to train for in 7 months, and it's a weird set of I gotta like push forward really early in it just to get myself in shouting range of that distance. But I'm not going to be able to run, for 5 hours at a time when it's 98 degrees with 95% humidity, because that is a recipe for death. And I'm not going to be able to run for 5 hours on a treadmill in the air conditioning, because 5 hours on the treadmill will probably make me a homicidal maniac.
Know thyself. Know thyself.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to have to come up with some happy medium over the summer, and maybe I'll. It's a different set of muscles, but if I can, do an hour of running and an hour of swimming, and hop on an exercise bike for half an hour, and maybe hop on the treadmill for half an hour. That's still a 3-hour cardio workout.
Starting to make me feel like lazy. And
so, I got to figure out, kind of a place to. I got to find a place to meet the challenge in the middle during the challenging months.
Alrighty then. Well, speaking of challenging months, when I read the story about our guest, they said he sailed around the world. I did not have 2 years in my head as a time frame. So I think we'll just move on over and say hi to Caspar and find out what possessed him to do that. You think?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, let's run it.
Enjoy.
Caspar, do you have a? Because you guys, you interviewed my friend.
Yeah. So
Kathy
we talked to Kathy O'Dowd. Yeah.
Yeah, she was awesome.
And then she emailed us and said, "Hey guys, do you want to talk to this guy who's put his family on a boat and sailing around the world?" Like, yep, yes we do.
Well, it's very nice to be here, and I'm glad she made the connection.
I guess the obvious place to start is how and why did you put your family on a boat sail around the world?
Okay. Do you want me to tell you the full story?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I'd actually sailed around the world before in 2000. So that was, competitive yacht race. So I've always loved sailing and boats and going fast and stuff like that. And this time around, it was 2009, and my wife and I were both in our mid to late 30s, and I was working in a small business, and we had sales of about small consultancy business. We had sales of about $500,000, losing money, and I was working 16, 18 hours a day in the business, and barely saw my wife, barely saw my kids. And our relationship wasn't particularly healthy because, we argued about money and what do we want to do in life and all that sort of stuff. And we were kind of asking ourselves the question, it's like, is this all there is to life? What else is there? Because this just feels like really hard. And we came up with this idea to go and sail around the world for 2 years with our kids. Back then we only had 2 kids. And there were many reasons why we shouldn't do it. So we didn't have the money. It was a pretty obvious one. My wife had only sailed twice back then, and she'd been seasick both times. And we didn't have a boat as well. That was another obvious reason. So,
what was the last one?
We didn't have a boat.
Oh, well, hey, that's exciting.
So given your circumstances, it does not seem like sailing around the world was the obvious choice.
It doesn't, does it?
In some cases, it's like, hey, we got to do something to shake this all up. Hey, let's sail around the world. I know some people might opt for a week in China.
But here's the thing: what it did there is, the whole thing about the relationship stuff is you're here in the middle of like a time of the relationship, and this is the past and this is the future. And I love the Tony Robbins has this saying that if you do what you did at the start of a relationship, there won't be an end of the relationship. So you go back and you find that joyfulness and that playfulness and that passion. Right. And that's here, and that's you going back. But my take is, well, why don't you look forwards and create something that's really exciting out there in the future? Because you can't go back, because you're different people, because you change over time. Right. So what we did, we spent 6 months creating this story, this narrative, what this place over here looked like in the future that was just incredibly exciting. And actually, it didn't start off as being about sailing. So we talked about so here's the visualization, right? Here's all the things that I wanted to do. Here's all the things that my wife, Nicola, wanted to do. And if we just sort of like held our own ground and said, okay, those are the things we both want to do, all we would have done is like clashed heads and had more arguments. And it's like, you can't build on conflict. You can only build on shared ground. So we just like took these things and said, what have we got in common? We found a couple of things that we had in common. We dropped everything else, and these little bits here in the middle. So one of them was we wanted to go to Carnival in Brazil. Another one was we wanted to go and see the elephants in Africa. Another one was we wanted to go diving in the Great Barrier Reef. So we cut out loads of pictures, and we talked about this stuff that we want to do here, just focusing on this bit. Nothing else made the conversation other than the shared things. And what that did, that created energy and excitement. And that then grows, that energy grows. So then it started to include other things that were both of our lists. But if we'd gone to those other things to start with, it would have just had an argument. So that was where it started from. We spent 6 months sort of talking about our vision for life and how we wanted to be different. And we had this vision statement on the wall in our kitchen, and we had this big map of the world. And we created this thing which we call the Winner's Bible. We're not religious, but call it a Bible anyway. And it had pictures and all different stuff we wanted to do. And we talked about it like all the time. And we told everybody we were going to go and do this. And of course, everybody laughed. But it was just creating that sort of hugely compelling picture of the future. So we were here. There's this thing over here. We created this thing that's literally pulling us into the future. Mm-hmm. So it was so exciting. So that was kind of where it all started.
Wow. Well, Okay. At that point, was there a boat involved?
There was no boat then. So we gave ourselves 5 years.
Okay.
5 years to make the whole thing happen. So that was back in 2009. And we said, 1st of August 2014, we're going to set sail as a happy, contented family. And so we had 5 years to literally change everything in our world. So, and the truth be told, we only got the boat 10 weeks before we left.
Wow.
So,
so it was the last piece.
it was the last piece to drop into place. And this saying that nothing ever happens without a deadline. I wholeheartedly believe that. If we didn't have a date to say we are leaving on this date, it would never have happened.
Now, what were your lives like when you started this planning process in 2009 to when you actually set out in 2014?
So what was our life like in 2009?
Yeah, versus what it was like in 2014. I mean, what did how many kids did you have? How old were they in 2009? Same in 2014.
Okay.
What were each of you doing for work if you're both working?
Yep. Okay. So 2009, we were both in our mid-late 30s. We had 2 kids. They were aged 4 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
My business was a consultancy business. We did data analytics consultancy. And my wife worked as an HR manager in a small business. That was our life back then. And in 2014, when we left, we had 3 kids by then. They were aged 9, 7, and 2. When the 2-year-old came along, everybody said, "You're not going sailing now, are you?" And it's like, no, we're still going because we've got a date in the diary. And my wife had left her job by then, because in that process, in that 5 years, we turned that first business around, and we ended up selling that business for 7 figures whilst we sailed across the Pacific. So actually, I was running the business whilst we were on the boat, and we created 2 other $1 million businesses in that 5-year period. And I've been trying to build businesses for years, but the only thing that made a big difference for us was having this huge, crazy goal, and being totally committed to it. That kind of gave me the juice to do it. So the other business was a collection of 500 online dating sites. And
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
500 online dating sites.
You did what to them?
Created them.
You created them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Were these sites for like grand adventurers, or what are we talking here?
So they were different, close. They were different niches. So there was like doctors dating, teachers dating, Catholics dating, over 50s dating, bald people dating, anything. It's anything where we could find a niche, we built on it. So.
Oh, wow.
So that was a new business, completely new business that we created, because we had to create the money to go make this happen.
Wow. Well, that's pretty exciting. So, man, all right, after you got that first dream, there's a lot of people in the world for some reason who still poo-poo goals. It's like, oh, goals, those don't work. And I'm like, I don't know what they're smoking. But when you put all this together, I mean, how did you keep that vision and keep that energy to where you were headed? And did you, at the beginning, sorry, I'm stacking questions, visualize the final trip? I mean, the trip you actually went on, was it anything close to what your original vision was? Okay.
My suspicion is you already know the answer to that question, because I think we have a similar mindset and approach. So, I think so. Only because of the way you frame the question. So
we're having a little bit of
we spent 6 months
bubble right now. So okay, go ahead and try again. Your internet's fading in and out, but go ahead and give it a shot.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So that 6 months we spent talking about the end vision was super, super important. And, there's a lot of stuff around goal setting, and people think, oh, that's easy. I know how to do that. but don't go into it in the depth that you need to. So, I talk about making a committed decision. So back then, we made a decision that this was going to happen. And it wasn't, it would be nice to happen. It's, this is going to happen come hell or high water. We are going to find a way, or we're going to make a way. So that vision statement, we wrote it out, and it was handwritten. It went on the kitchen wall, and we told every single person that we knew that this is what we're going to do. And every day we'd come down and we'd see this map of the world on the wall. And every morning I would come down 5:30 in the morning, and I would have this morning routine. I'd sit there and I would spend 10, 15 minutes, and I would visualize this, and I would do this exercise that I call the theater in my mind. And I would see the whole thing happening. I'd see us buying the boat. I'd see us sailing down the English channels, sailing into the Canary Islands, through the Panama Canal. By the time we got to South Africa, the kids would be sailing the boat. And I can, as I'm telling you now, I can see it all in rich, vivid detail in my imagination. And, I saw it in my mind long, long, long before it ever happened. So that was the first part, the vision part. The second part is, why did it matter? And, it's great having the vision, but if you haven't got a strong reason why, then, the tendency is you'll give up. Because, you're going to encounter a whole bunch of headwinds and stuff on the way. And, my wife and I, our reason why was slightly different. My reason why was to create magical, life-changing experiences for us and our children. And because we told everybody, including our kids, about it, they knew that we were going to go and make this happen. So it was, whenever, we did something that failed and we lost money and we got knocked down flat and we had to get back up again, it was that reason why that got us going again. So, the whole thing that you said about the vision and the goal setting, it's absolutely fundamental. But you've got to do it properly. A lot of people say cognitively, yes, I know what to do, I'll go and do it. But there's a difference between knowing what to do and really going deep into it, and going the whole 9 yards of it. So that's what I'd say about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Josh is looking pensive there.
Well, I'm just, I'm kind of a logistics guy. So how does all this work? So you get your plan together. Now you've got your boat. You're 10 weeks out. You're going to sail around the world for 2 years, or however long it was going to wind up being, because you wanted to hit Carnival, you wanted to hit the Great Barrier Reef. You had your points that you wanted to stop at, and you can plan to some extent, but your path and your timeline are dictated a little bit by weather patterns as well. You don't have full control over that. And now you have 3 kids, 2 of whom are school aged. I don't know how the school system works in the UK, but if we were to do that in the US, we'd have to have a way to check in with the school system. I mean, clearly it's an educational experience, and we can call it homeschooling for sure. But we have to have a way to check in with the state to say, hey, this is what we've done, and here's how they're progressing. What are some of those challenges, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. There's a lot there as well. So let me break that down a little bit. So
yeah,
the first bit goes back to the whole thing about team. And one of the things when I was building businesses, I got to a point where I was driving business so hard that everybody turned around and threatened to leave. And I was there. It's like, okay, I need to do something very, very different here. So I had to go back and learn how to be a leader again. And in that process of breaking everything down that I knew and relearning, someone told me this wonderful phrase, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And for me, that's all about building your team. And my wife and I had to work together as a team. And we came up with this joke that if it was down to my wife, nothing would ever get started. And if it was down to me, nothing would ever get finished. So when you talk about the logistics, my wife used to carry around this huge file of all these different things because there is an insane amount of work you need to do to get ready for this. So you've got to get the boats ready. You've got to learn how all the different parts of that work and how you fix them. We had to go and do huge amounts of training. So we both trained to become ship's doctors. So in case of medical emergencies, what do we do? We had to go and learn weather, rigging. I mean, the list was endless in terms of things. Schooling was definitely one part of that. And to pick up on that specifically, we went and spoke to the teachers at the kids' schools, and we told them what we were doing. And, they were incredibly supportive. And here's the interesting thing about the British school system. If you want to take the kids out of school for one day, they get really upset because it screws up their numbers. If you want to take them out for 2 years, it's like, yay, off you go. So long as you've got a good thing that you're going to go and do and you thought about it. So, we loaded the boat up with books from the UK national curriculum. And so we were following that. And here's a story about this. So we got about a month in. And I was sitting down trying to teach my son about the kings and queens and Tudor England and stuff like this. And outside there's flying fish and we're catching fish and there's all these amazing places. And he's looking at me saying why are you getting me to learn this stuff? I'm not even remotely interested. And after about an hour with him sitting pushing around a blank piece of paper and nothing happening, it's like, okay, we need a different approach. So what we did is we chucked the books over the side and we said, okay, what are you interested in? And so my son said, I'm super interested in fishing. Fantastic. So we got all the fishing books out and he started to learn about all the different fish and different oceans, how big they got, how fast they swam. Then we started catching fish. So we're catching bluefin tuna, yellowfin tuna, we're catching mahi-mahis and stuff like this. And so he's then weighing the fish. He's then measuring the fish. He's starting to write up in his journal about where we've caught them. We're dissecting them. So he's learning biology. So it's taking him to literacy, to numeracy, to biology. He then sets up a business making and selling fishing lures and selling advice sheets to other yachts. So it takes him now to sales, to marketing, to, just everything. And so it was an unconventional education. But it worked because you follow what they're interested in. When you follow something you're truly passionate about, your learning rate goes up by 1,000%. So it was the right thing to do. So.
That was awesome. That quote you just mentioned, I just heard last night. So this is the universe saying, yeah, keep talking to this guy. So just last night. Wow. So how long now? You said when you want to take it, how long did you take him out of school? Was it 2 years?
2 years, yeah. 2 years.
So it took you 2 years to sail around the world.
Yeah, we actually went 1.5 times around the world because one time wasn't enough.
Oh. Well, it sounds like the kind of ice cream I like to eat. One box is never enough. You just got to do a little bit more. So at the end of all of that incredible adventure, I looked at some of your videos this morning and I was seeing some of the waves out there. And I was like, no. And then I think about, smooth sailing does not make a sailor, all that. But at the end of all of this thing, and we'll go back to some parts in the middle, when you got done this incredible adventure, how was your family? How were you guys doing?
So, I'll go back in time a little bit in that story. So, when I sailed around the world in 2000 on this thing that was called the world's toughest yacht race.
The world's toughest
yacht race.
Okay.
So basically, that's where a lot of the video and the big waves come from.
Mm-hmm.
So that was real hardcore racing down in icebergs, down near Antarctica, and all that sort of stuff.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I remember coming back from that, and 3 months afterwards, I remember finding myself sitting in the bottom of my dad's garden at 3:00 in the morning with a bottle of whiskey. Because you have an incredible high, where do you go after that? You crash.
Yep.
So I knew, and we had this baked into our vision statement right from the start, that this had to lead somewhere interesting and exciting. This couldn't just be a one-off adventure. This had to go somewhere else. So right from the start, we knew this was going to go somewhere, but we didn't know what it was. So as we sailed back across the Atlantic from South Africa to Brazil, heading towards Carnival, we spent a lot of time talking about where do we want to live? What do we want our life to look like? And we made the decision that actually we wanted to spend part of our year in the States, in America, just because we love it over here. So we ended up sailing the boat to San Francisco, which is where I am right now. And we said that we're going to go and create new missions and new ventures and things to move on to. So we've got the kids settled. They're all back in school. They've not skipped a beat, and they're doing just fine. And my wife and I are on a mission right now, and it's basically it's disrupting as many people as we can. I would like to disrupt millions of people around the world. And when I say disrupt, I mean disrupt in a good way. To get people to ask the question of what's really important to you in life, and then to really just answer that question and to then go for it. Because, back in the day when we came up with our vision, everybody said, well, we couldn't do that because we haven't got the money, and, our relationship's not great, and we've got kids, so we can't go and do these things. And it's like, we knocked away all those obstacles. So I've literally just released a book here in the States last week called Where the Magic Happens. And the essence of that, where the magic happens, is where you step outside your comfort zone. That famous picture, where's your comfort zone here and the magic happens over here.
Yep.
So, and contained in that book is not just our story, but a blueprint for how anyone else can grab hold of their life, their relationships, and sort of go and create whatever it is that they want. So that's the mission that I'm on. And the part of each of us which enables us to go and do that is what I call the brave you. Now, inside of us, all of us, we've all got a brave part. There's all times in our lives where we've been brave. We've stepped into uncertainty with courage. And even though we don't know what the answers are, we've gone for it. So my next book and the next mission that I'm working on is called The Brave You. And that's training people to be more brave, developing brave fitness. So whether that's in your family life, whether that's in your own life, whether that's in a business context. So that's what I'm training people to do now, is to be more brave and disrupting people so that, we're not just sort of going through, sleepwalking through life, just doing what everybody else says we should go and do, but it's grabbing hold of the things that set your soul on fire and speak to you. And it's different for every single person. Very few people out there will want to go and sail around the world, but everyone will have something that's really important to them. And the story I have around this, you remember when you left college in your early 20s, and you felt the world was like, you could do anything, you're invincible. Mm-hmm. And by the time we got to our mid to late 30s, and it's like we were just feeling worn down with life and just following this pattern that everybody else had defined for us. And the thing that we basically said was, well, screw it. Why do we follow that pattern? Let's go and create our own path. And I think we did some things that were unusual, unique, and that's what I'm super keen to share with people. And that's why I want to disrupt as many people as I can to get them to go and find the thing that sets their soul on fire.
This is the second time in a week I've heard that too, that disrupt thing. So I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be here right now. Yes, there you go. Caspar Craven, the disruptor. That's it. It'd make a nice movie, man. You just understand.
So there were 5 years between. It was an intentional 5 years between when you sat down to develop this plan and when you were actually going to set sail.
Yep.
Now, I know that gave you something to look forward to, but 5 years is going to sound like a lot of time for some people. And I mean, especially in a society that's very much immediate an immediate gratification society. So how do you get through those 5 years with just even as you get 60% closer, you're still talking about something that's 2 years off.
Yep.
How do you manage the day-to-day short-term frustrations as you're looking at a goal that seems so far away?
Yeah, good question. So look, our thing was pretty extreme. Here's the thing. One of the key things that we had to do was to, one of the key skills. So the whole emotional resilience piece, because nobody teaches you this in school, and it's only when you hit like a brick wall and a frustration and things aren't going your way that you have to go and learn those emotional skills. And we did a huge amount of work on this, and we developed these routines. So one of the things that I would do every evening before I would go to bed, I would write a gratitude journal and focus on the things that I was grateful for. In the morning after I'd done my visualization, I would do this breathing technique, and I would focus on things that I wanted to make better in the world. And so it was just about preparing my mind to be able to deal with those frustrations. Because in business and life, whatever it is, stuff is going to go wrong, and the only way that anything that makes a difference is how you deal with that. So it's all about your mindset and your approach. So in that 5 years, it was a long time because we had a lot to achieve.
Right.
It was just sort of learning how to deal with stuff, and it was exactly the same skill sets that we needed to build the businesses, to deal with our relationship, to get over those issues, with the same skill sets that we need to deal with things when they went wrong when we were at sea. And that's kind of the thing that I'm most proud that I've taught my kids, is the emotional resilience side of things, and getting resourceful, and using whatever it is that you've got that's around you. So I always tell a story about resourcefulness, that when we were on the boat, we had a couple of situations where things went pretty badly wrong. And when you're out there on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and your mast is about to fall down, there's no way you can go. There's no shop you can pop into to go and get the bits that you need. You can't go and find an engineer to go and fix it for you. It's just you there on the boat, and you've got what you've got, nothing more. And you have to figure out a way around that. And it's your mindset that will help you deal with that. So the answer, very short answer to the question, in terms of how do you deal with those frustrations, it's all about your mindset and your approach, and training yourself to deal with different situations.
Great. Now, as you deal with the day-to-day frustrations, leading up to taking off on this journey, and that's a journey in itself for sure. But now you've set sail. I'm sure that as you're sailing, you've got some bad days, probably some bad weeks out there. When you make port somewhere that you really enjoy, what pushes you back out to sea?
It's funny, there's this irony about sailing, that whenever you're in land, you're itching to get out to sea, and because you love being out there on the water, and it's just an amazing place to be. And then when you're on the water and you've been out there for a week or so, you're itching to get into the land, to go and sort of pick up your friend. There's a really sort of like weird double irony about that. But the part about going back out to sea again, for me personally, I always say that I'm far happier on water than I am on land. It's where I get my spiritual connection. Mm-hmm. I'm not religious, but I just feel this incredible connection. And, being out there sort of, thousands of miles from any piece of land, you've got the stars above you, and, beautiful winds, boats carving through the water. And, we as a family were far, far happier on long passages, because you just get settled into a rhythm and a way of life. For us, that was where magic happened, when we were out there on those long passages. So, going out and spending time talking with my kids, we'd sit around the dinner table 3 times a day. We'd play games, we'd talk, we'd laugh, we'd share stories. And, there were no devices on the boat, so no sort of, iPads and things like that. And,
right.
We're just enjoying time together as people. So that was pretty easy to head back out to ocean to go and do that stuff. So
Very nice. What were some of the favorite places that you stopped?
So various places. So one of the places that was really unexpected for me was Panama, and it's a really compact place. There's so much there. So on the Caribbean side, you've got the San Blas Islands, which are these spectacular islands. The Microsoft screensaver on the Windows thing with all the beautiful islands.
Yeah.
That was photographed in the San Blas Islands.
Oh, okay.
And there's, I think it's like 300 odd of these little islands, and most of them are uninhabited. Just amazing. And then you've got the Panama Canal, which is just the most incredible engineering feat. You've got all the tribes up in the hills. You've got Panama City, which is just like crazy, crazy city. And then you've got another set of islands on the other side called the Las Perlas Islands, which is where they actually filmed the TV series Survivor. And in a short space of area, I mean, it's just the most insane place. I always say, if anyone wants 2 weeks worth of experiences, go to Panama. It's pretty cool. So that was amazing. But officially, the most beautiful island in the world is somewhere in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's called Cocos Keeling. And my heart's there because it's just the most stunning island. You go swimming in the most crystal clear blue waters, and you're surrounded by turtles and huge fish and coral and sharks, and it's just amazing. So that's my favourite place.
So now you're back. You're writing books. You're teaching. I don't know if the TED Talks were before or after your adventure.
After.
So, aside from what that's done for your family, so how are you using that to, or what from that whole process are you now teaching people? Because you're teaching people how to get this resiliency and everything that you talked about. And what is your, I don't know. I mean, what are you saying to us? What's the capsulization of everything you learned on that trip and what you're teaching people on how to make their lives better?
Okay, yeah. So that's a great question. So look, the first thing is working out what's truly important to you and those people, the loved ones around you. So whether that's family, partner, children, what's really important to you in life, and spending time answering that question. When I first sailed around the world, there's a gentleman called Sir Che Blythe. He said these words to me before I signed up for that race. He said, Caspar, there'll come a time just before you look, just before you draw your final breath, you'll look down at your toes and you'll ask yourself, have I done everything that I want to do in life? And he said, if the answer's no, you're going to be pretty brassed off. So stop messing around, work out what you want to do, and go and get on with it. So I kind of want to disrupt everybody and say, what's that thing that you really, really want to do? Because most people put work goals first. And my thing is all about putting you and your family first. Work out that big vision for your life, and then everything else fits behind that. And we all get sucked into this routine of saying, it's got to be this work goal or that work goal. And I turn it around. So that's the first thing. So getting really, really clear on that. And, it takes time to answer that question. It took us 6 months to answer that question. And some people say, well, I want to be financially free, or I want to be happy. And that's great, but you need to go deeper than that. And you keep asking yourself, and your subconscious will start producing different answers for you. If you ask yourself that question repeatedly and you share that with your partner, and you drill down to that level of depth. So that's that first thing of getting really, really clear on where you want to go. And then after that, the other thing that I'm sort of teaching people on is how do you build businesses that can run without you? So, for years I was building businesses where I was, all involved in it, and my ego was wrapped up in that as well. And I came to realize, well, those 3 businesses that I built, I created them so that I wasn't involved in them at all. I set them up. I just got brilliant people there. And that's all about getting really clear on the vision. What are the values of the business? How do we show up? How do we behave? How do we operate? So I guess it's those 2 things. It's getting really clear on where do you want to go, being brave and going out there. And then the second part is how do you build businesses that can support that lifestyle. So those are kind of the two things that I'm teaching people.
Awesome. Is there anyone who has been instrumental, any book, any author who has been instrumental in the mindset that you've developed to put all this stuff into place?
Lots of people. I mean, in that 5-year journey, I went round and I was attending 4 conferences a year. I was reading probably, 50, 60 books a year. And who stands out for me in that stuff? Tony Robbins, did a lot of stuff with him. A guy called Dan Kennedy ran Glazer Kennedy Inside Circle. So those 2 guys were, quite influential, but there was a ton more people, and no one's got all the answers. And you go round and you take on board stuff and you try stuff, and if it works, you do more of it, and if it doesn't, you do less of it. So just surround yourself with the smartest people that you can.
I can't see you, Josh. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm taking notes as I usually do.
Oh yeah.
But I guess you can't see me looking down, and
I can't see you looking down now. So I didn't want to steal the show from you because
So now that you've done this, you've got one book that you're touring the U.S. with right now, and it's launching next month in the U.K. You've got your next book in the works already. Do you have a long term? Do you have the next few steps planned out? Do you have new adventures? Do you have a new thing to shoot for out there?
Yeah, I do. So since I've been back, I've been sharing these stories, these messages on stages all around the world. And I've found it the most addictive thing that I've ever done, to be able to take a room full of people and take them from one place and an hour later leave them in a different place with ideas and energy. And, for years when I was in the corporate world and running my own businesses, I always thought that I had to do and say things in a certain way. And for the past year, I've just felt utterly liberated by going and doing this. And, my mission right now is to inspire millions of people all over the world every year to grab hold of what's truly important to them and their family. And so, I've always been an entrepreneur with loads of different businesses going on, but actually I've kind of focused 100% on this mission, the making magic happen and finding the brave you, just because it's just the most intensely rewarding thing I've ever done, just being able to impact other people and help make shifts in people's lives. So that's my personal mission. Sure, there's more adventures planned out there, and we're going to go and do some more sailing adventures and some more traveling adventures, but the number one thing for me by far is this mission, helping people to be more brave. So that's my direction right now.
Great. Kelvin, you got anything else before we?
Oh, I was going to ask him. So what haven't you told us yet? What is it that you came here to say to our audience that we haven't given you the opportunity to say yet? What is that thing you want to give us?
That's a great question. Well, look,
I stole it from Josh.
Look, I would love anyone to go and if any of these ideas resonate, to go and get my book, Where the Magic Happens. Just Google my name in Amazon, and but you should not read them. If you're 100% happy with your life, you should not read that book, because by the end of it you'll be disrupted, and you will go and do things that you weren't going to go and do before. I promise you, because that's the feedback that I get from everybody. So that would be the first thing that I would say. But no, I think the key thing, it's all about this we rather than me, and we kind of talked about that. But just sort of spending time listening and talking to your partner or whoever you share your life with, and asking that question, what's really important to both of us, and doing stuff together. Because where the magic happens, right? I remember years ago going traveling, and you go and sit down on the beach and you see the most beautiful sunset in the world. But if it's just you on your own, it's like, well, yeah, that's pretty cool. But it's when you can share those experiences with somebody else, then it just totally transforms it. So that's where the magic happens, going doing those things together. So that's what I'd say.
I like that term, disruptor. Typically, if we hear something like that, it's going to be a negative, but I've heard it a couple of times recently in a positive way, changing the status quo basically and making things better. And the way you're using it with disrupting people and where they are in their life right now and helping them find what it is they really want to do, who they really want to be, how they really want to feel. I like that. I'd like to adopt that. Is that okay with you?
Please do. I mean, this is all about spreading the message, right? And it's making the world a better place. I mean, the world right now, there is so much uncertainty. There is so much change going on politically, economically, culturally. Everything is changing. And one of my mentors, Dan Kennedy, used to say, in a business context, if you plan on being in the business that you're in 5 years' time, then you won't be in a business. And, there is so much change that we have to learn how to embrace uncertainty and change. And it's being forced upon us. So the only way that we can deal with that is being brave. And I think that comes back to sort of what's really important to you. And then, grab hold of that. Because, and it's also the other thing of educating our kids. The skills and the way that we're teaching them in schools is stuff that worked 100 years ago. We don't know what's happening in 5 years' time, let alone 20 years' time. So, these skill sets, they apply to everything. It's how we prepare ourselves for the world going forward.
Great. Where do you hang out online? Where can people connect with you and get a hold of you?
So the first thing is just stick my name into Google, Caspar Craven. There's only one of me, Caspar, Caspar. The ghost is spelled ER, I'm spelled AR. So there's my website, CasparCraven.com. But I'm also on LinkedIn, on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, all those things. But yeah, just stick my name into Google and stuff will come up quite quickly. So.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your press tour as those things go. And we look forward to seeing the future here with you.
Thank you very much. Look, I really enjoyed the great questions and just the conversation. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some stories with you guys and your listeners.
You're so welcome. You keep doing what you're doing. We're probably going to have you back so we can get the sequel, Yeah,
when that next book comes out, we definitely want to, give us a shout because we'll have you back.
I look forward to it very much.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye. Awesome.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com.